All right. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi, David. So welcome, David Showalter. I'm going to start with your bio, and we're just going to go right after it. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
All right, cool. So Dr. David Showalter is a postdoc at Oregon State University, studying how trees, insects, and fungi interact with one another. David seeks to deepen our knowledge of the interactions between the triumvirate trees, insects, and fungi, and then extend that knowledge to the public, forest health managers, and policymakers down the road. No matter the topic, whether it's invasives like emerald ash borer, preying upon ash trees, or talking about being a scientist, or a parent, or our mental health, I'm always down for a chat with this amazing, caring human. David, I'm really happy to finally be having our Fireside Chat. So welcome.
All the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. That's awesome. Okay, so if we could start just with you telling us about who you are, what you do, where you're at in the world, and how you got there. So basically, like your whole life story. Yeah, no big deal.
So you got like what, 5 hours, 5 minutes?
Yeah, somewhere in between.
Yeah, really, you were a master of introduction. That was flattering and great all at the same time. So I mean, you covered really my jam. Bugs, trees, fungi, professionally, and then otherwise. I love to eat. I love to share it with people. I love to make great food.
I've seen some of your. I've seen some of your photos, and your food looks really good. By the way, you had one recently, like on the barbecue grill with like cauliflower and broccoli and different veggies. It looks really good.
No, that was. I gotta say, I was proud of that one. It was delicious.
I saw that I started this new app for like doing intermittent fasting. And I saw it during my fasting period, and it made me so hungry. I'm so mad at you.
I'm sorry. You gotta put limits on that, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I need to turn it off. That's what I need to do. Okay. Anyways, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Right?
No worries. So sometimes that involves making food for my tiny little humans that I'm responsible for keeping alive. 2 little boys who are really fun to explore the world with. So we like to be like excited about things together, and like they have this sense of wonder that is just irreplaceable. You cannot help but see the world through kids' eyes sometimes, and I love that so much. I feel like that's one of the best joys of being a parent. And so I think honestly, I'm a kid at heart. I try to like be curious about lots of things, and I try to try new things, and I try to like give people the benefit of the doubt when I can. So briefly, I grew up in Virginia, out in the middle of nowhere. Had the wonderful privilege of being able to go play in the woods pretty much whenever I wanted to. We had a little woodlot just beside our house, and I was out there, digging up anthills and turning over logs and climbing up trees and getting stuck in trees, from about as early as I can remember. I look back on that now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's, that's where a lot of this came from, is sort of those formative experiences. And, I, like a lot of people, I think, biology just sort of stuck with me, and it was something I really was interested in, benefited from some really good teachers, and kind of stumbled into that in college. And then I was good at school, and so I was like, hey, I can keep doing this. And after a little bit of working after college, I was like, yeah, I want to go back to school and learn more about these cool things. And ended up going to Ohio State, working with emerald ash borer, which I knew nothing about before grad school. But Ohio in 2011 was a great place to be studying emerald ash borer, because ash were, literally dying right outside my front door where we lived, and got to ask a lot of really interesting questions. And it was sort of lucky because, everybody was really, really, really scared of what was happening. And so there's actually some funding to do some research on that. And that got me through grad school, which is great. Ended up doing a little postdoc there at OSU too, and then went on to University of Minnesota, where I changed gears a little bit. Still worked on an emerald ash borer project, looking at the fungi that kind of hang out with them. What do we find in the ash trees when the emerald ash borer gets there, and are there potential ways we could leverage those fungi to help out? Could we keep trees from decaying so quickly if we got, if there's some decay fungi that are in there that we could target? Could we use some insect pathogens that we might find in there to kind of slow them down? And then I did some other work as well, and wandered my way out here to Oregon State. And here I'm working on, again, a number of different things with bugs, trees, and fungi, but a little bit of bark beetles, a little bit of black stain, a little bit of phytophthora, so these root pathogens. Dipping my toes in a lot of different projects, which is something I love. And that's one of the best things about a career in science, is like it's always something different. It may not always be something that you like, but it's always something different. No 2 days are exactly the same. You get paid to learn and paid to figure out how to do stuff, which is fun.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I love how you had this east to west migration, and
yeah, just wandering my way across.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, literally like almost coast to coast. But yeah, man, you saw some really cool stuff doing that. And so did you start? So I know you didn't start your undergrad with anything to do with plant pathology, but did you dive right into that in Ohio State? Is that what you did?
Yeah. So my undergrad, I was lucky to do like some research. Sorry about that. Let's turn that guy off. I was lucky to do
How dare
some,
you?
I know, research with ants and pheromones and how they communicate with one another, and that was sort of my first taste into like these, chemical ecology is what the field is called, is like the chemistry of how different organisms communicate with one another or with different individuals, and really I see that as sort of what has propelled me through. And then it changed slightly to like plant defensive chemistry and how that affects insects and fungi. But that's really, I think, where it started for me. And so we had kind of the two-body problem. I have a wonderful partner. She is a physician, so she did her training in parallel to mine, and so that sort of geographically limited where we went. So Ohio State, one of the places where we could be on the same campus and do our things, both the trees and and the humans, those boring things.
Yeah.
And same with Minnesota. So she did her residency there while I was doing a postdoc, and then she has a job out here, while I'm doing my thing. So it's in some ways it's simplified. Honestly, when you're looking at like, where do I want to go to school? What do I want to study? It is like, a world of possibility.
Throw a dart. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it just sort of sticks. So we just kind of like picked the ones that would, be possible for both of us. And as luck would have it, we, found great spots and kind of grew where we were planted. And yeah, it was awesome. I never would have picked that to begin with, but mostly because I didn't know anything. I got there and it's really cool, so I feel like maybe that was a lesson of people like me who I want to control everything and want to plan everything and like get all anxious about it, but like just go and grow and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, I'm glad. If you hadn't, we wouldn't be having this chat. So that's why you really did all that. You didn't know it, but now you do. Yeah,
got a whole winding road just right here.
That's right. Oh, I'm glad you made it. Cheers.
Tea to that.
So okay, I have a lot of questions, and it's really hard for me to decipher to decide which one I should go with. But I want to talk just real briefly, if we can, about EAB and what you did with that. So did you start that? You started that at Ohio, and then you moved to Minnesota, and then also continued it. What's some of the research that you did around that?
Sure.
Just briefly. You don't have to dive into it or anything.
No, I'm not going to give you my dissertation, but
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. So we were looking at the ash side of things. So ash is an interesting genus that has some of its distribution in Eurasia, and then a lot of in North and Central America. And it's really cool where they think they originated in North America and went across the land bridge to Eurasia, and then actually some of them came back. So we have sort of this relationship between like the relatedness of the ash and their biogeography. And so here in North America, we have this group that are green ash and white ash. They're sort of the dominant street trees. They're dominant forest trees. You basically would trip over them anywhere east of the Mississippi and along just about any urban forest across all of North America, even outside of their sort of endemic range. And then there's another group. There's other species called black ash, which is found in riparian areas, mostly in the north. And that one is super closely related to some of the ash species in northeastern Asia, where emerald ash borer comes from. So we have this really interesting intake, northeastern Asian co-evolved ash that don't really have any trouble with emerald ash borer, and look at like their first cousin that's here in North America that just gets decimated. And so we have kind of an interesting background to look at, what's this Manchurian ash, is what it's called, doing differently from this black ash, and then also these ash and white ash that are a little bit different. And so that was sort of our model of like, what's here that's not here, and can we find resistance genes, markers, some sort of traits to speed up selection in breeding programs, to potentially, if we can change some of those traits in existing trees through a treatment or silviculture or something like that, maybe that would help out. And really, it came down to a lot of just sort of laying the groundwork too, of just describing the chemicals that these trees produce in response to attack. And do they form wounds the same way? Do they try to cover their wounds the same way, make callus tissue and things like that? So it started off as a lot of descriptive stuff, and then we were finally able to sort of propose some hypotheses and at least start trying to at least provide some evidence to either support or reject some of those hypotheses. Yeah, so plant defensive chemistry in response to infection, sort of in this background of co-evolved and naive trees.
Yeah, that's really cool. So my advisor and he is still ongoing with him and some of his other students, but I was involved with a little project at some ash that established alongside and a little bit before this lake was established here in kind of my locale, and so it's kind of being passively monitored for any EAB, but so yeah, I mean, diving into the story of ash is devastating, and it's also intriguing. So much attention has been going to it for a while now, obviously, since it was discovered, and especially like in the past decade. But yeah, that's really interesting stuff. Yeah, I'm glad I just know like there's so much research going on, and anytime that I can talk to somebody about it, it's really cool to hear like what their niche was, and how it kind of supported this or supported that or whatever. So that's cool. Okay, so you did the EAB stuff, then you went over to Oregon. All right. Okay, and so that you were focused more on the tree side of this trifecta, right? So what are you kind of looking at, or what's some projects you have going on? I know you're like constantly busy and you've got a lot on your docket, but what's some of the stuff that you're looking at?
Yeah, so the EAB stuff ran from Ohio State kind of through Minnesota, where I looked sort of more at fungi that were involved in the interaction as well. And that actually has kind of pulled me a little bit different way, to where I actually care about fungi now. I tried to avoid them, but now I realize that they're actually really cool too, and so I can work with them as well. So now here at Oregon State, I'm looking at fungi and then fungi-like organisms, like oomycetes. I don't know. I had never heard about an oomycete until I went to a plant pathology program. But they're in function. They're basically fungi, but they're more closely related to brown algae actually, and they are commonly associated with root diseases in plants. They like wet conditions, and so Willamette Valley in Oregon, like their dream, wet soil, water soil, tasty plant roots. So there's a invasive oomycete here that we're working on with an endemic tree called Port Orford cedar. That's kind of this really unique. Really unique tree that is really not a fan of this oomycete. So we're with the Forest Service to do some like long-term resistance screening of some of the breeding that they're doing. They've gone and selected some resistant individuals, and they're trying to, do some like old school genetics, understanding the heritability and the loci that might be involved in that. And we're sort of the arm that screens their families, and it's kind of a long-term collaboration. So that's one piece. I'm also looking at it's black stain root disease in Doug fir, caused by a leptographium fungi. So those leptographium belongs to that big old group of ophiostomatoid fungi that cause the blue stains in just about any conifer you can think of. They all have their own blue stain fungus. And then there's usually a beetle involved too. So the beetle carries them in. We usually find the fungus then in the galleries of the beetle. And they have this sometimes very tightly associated symbiosis, sometimes a little bit more variable between the beetle and the fungus, and sort of they together form this disease of whichever conifer you're talking about. Yeah, so I'm mostly looking at the fungi in that regard, and understanding there are a bunch of closely related fungi that affect closely related trees, trying to tease that apart and understand the genetics behind host specialization, what allows them to cause disease, and looking at the sort of the genetics of that interaction.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, when we were talking in the past or earlier, we were talking about, how sharing with you kind of this aha moment for me when, looking down at trees, in the valley, and you see like kind of patchwork, here's some brown needle, like dead ones, or presumably dead ones. And then there's a scattering of some living amongst the dead. And then there's maybe a ton of living ones with just a few dead. And it's just, that's so dynamic. And from the macro, you look down and you have no idea why. You don't, unless obviously you've studied all this stuff. But I mean, looking at it, that's not going to diagnose anything. And, but really you have to understand a lot of those fundamentals, the genomics, involved, or you're gonna miss stuff, right? It's not as simple as beetle attack tree die, forest dies because of that, right? Or it's increased heat, hotter droughts, and that's it, right? It's like this whole, just like we think of an ecosystem, and it's an ecosystem of disease and biotic stresses, all that stuff. That's cool. I mean, like, it's really neat. For me, I core a tree. Cool. Like, I'm going to see how old this tree is. And, like we can, tell like dendroecology, and there's methods to, extrapolate a lot out of that. But, I honestly don't always give it a lot of thought, but I do when I'm driving down the road and see like a whole patch or a whole stand just dead, and, I don't think all the time of all the drivers of tree mortality. And disease.
And so I'm relatively new to the like dendrochronology world, but as I've, through you and a couple other people I've kind of connected with on Twitter, I've been seeing it more. And it's actually really interesting from a plant disease standpoint, because you essentially have this little snapshot back in time. When you look at a landscape, you can try and make inferences about, oh, this pocket probably grew from one tree, and now it's kind of mostly round, so we think that's maybe a disease pocket, versus you see something across a landscape and you can make guesses about what happened in the past. But if you go and core that tree, you actually you got a lot more data now. Oh, look, here's a fire scar. Oh, look, here's a beetle gallery 2 years after that fire scar. Oh, look, here's a canker that healed over. And that's I'm kind of recalibrating the way I think about it now, and how that can be used in some of these landscape level understandings of how diseases progress. We can get a little bit of inference back in time, and trying to incorporate that into epidemiology and the way we think about disease. So
yeah, for sure. That you made me think of like a tree core. Sometimes you're lucky you hit a pocket, or I'm sure through microscopic techniques you could probably find a lot of other things that I'm not going to understand. But yeah, I mean, you made me really think, like, when we do fire history work, we're going and take a cross section, we'll call it cookie, right? And just like an inch thick or whatever, the whole tree. Usually it'll be from like remnant wood, like an old stump that didn't fully decay or whatever. And a more informed person, a mycologist or a plant pathologist, is going to be able to understand what I would be seeing. Like, I'm seeing lots of zone lines, and lots of galleries, and lots of things that I don't understand. But in the hands of someone like yourself and others, I'm sure there are so many stories on one tree cookie, and I know there is work. There's a lot of people that do like Diana Six, out of Montana, she does a lot with beetles and dendrochronology. But I can't imagine, because when I see like some of these cross sections, they're riddled with what has to be, I'm going to show my ignorance here, David, but like I'm just going to say many different fungi. I was going to say like at least 6. I'm sure there's like 1,000 or so. I don't know. But, like, I'm seeing these different zone lines, and I'm seeing, all these interactions that I don't understand, except just to say, like, yeah, I mean, obviously this tree was diseased, and it probably led to its death, but that's it. And I can imagine like the stories that can be told from having full cross sections. Yeah,
that's why it's so cool to see some of these collections like get digitized, in a really accessible way, because you can kind of do some forensics here. People can aggregate some resources across the landscape and get a really cool picture over time. Yeah, so I love it's kind of opened up a whole new world for me, so it's cool to see that stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and like you mentioned, just talking about kind of in your journey, and the basics that you got in your undergrad, they're basics of science, right? Basics of biology. And then you really dive in, and you only learn like that little piece that you do, and then you go, and so you got like this tree aspect, and you get kind of the fungal aspect, and now you're getting insect and kind of tying it all together and stuff. And it's like, but that's each person, that's all of our stories, right? Like, we learn a little here, a little there, and that's just that microcosm of what it is to be just science itself, the body of science. And it's just really cool, because I think of I hope I don't get her name wrong, Kathleen Knight, and her work with EAB. Yeah, and it's just like all the genetic work, and breeding trees, and I think Dutch elm disease too, I think she looks at. But
Kathleen and Jennifer Koch, they both.
Yes, Jennifer Koch. Thank you.
Long history of both Dutch elm, beech bark, and of course, they do some cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, without that, like, what papers am I going to cite? Like, and but there's a lot more out there. I'm kind of using hyperbole there, but like, it's so cool to think about how you have to have somebody doing the genetics, then you've got to have 5 other people doing genetics work on their own, then you've got to have like kind of the ecologists out there. And it's pretty cool how it all works. You know, we're not going to understand anything if we're not all doing it. So,
and you need, you know, people out there stomping in the woods,
yeah,
you know, in trees, to making for inventory type measurements, because, you know, you're not understand what's happening if you can't see what's happening to the trees. And you need
absolutely
database managers to take care of all that stuff. You need, yeah, it's amazing how it is.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so if we kind of shift gears, that's cool. I'm like, it's really neat to, you know, like I can read your bio, you know, I can read your papers, but like it's something altogether different to be able to kind of get this like summarized version of, you know, the science that was behind the person. So I'm glad to kind of cover that in a really brief, you know, period of time. That's really cool. So I did want to ask you, so if we could talk about mental health, you know, because that's always fun. So I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open on the internet, you know, about my struggles and dealing with, you know, different mental illnesses, sometimes in real time, sometimes once I get good enough to talk about it. But, you know, whenever I started doing that, it was really about sharing my struggles, because I didn't have somebody, you know, I just didn't have that. I didn't have that support growing up, and I didn't have it until, well, I mean, fairly recently. And so for me, it was more about reaching out, like just telling everybody, you're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone. And I realized after I had lots of therapy, I realized, oh, I'm just like trying to tell myself I'm not alone, you know. And case in point, the other day, you know, like I you know, I posted that, you know, I was, you know, really down, I was depressed, so like I didn't make that call to fill my meds, and so then I didn't have my meds, and then that's not good, you know, that's never a good thing. And you know, like the response I got is so helpful, you know, like you were the first one, I think, or one of the first ones, you know, and just saying like, hey, that really, you know, I'm paraphrasing poorly, but you know, essentially you're saying like, that sucks, I'm really sorry, you know, it can be really tough. And like just having that is so helpful. And I know that you've also shared, you know, some of your struggles, and I'm, you know, wondering, you know, how has like mental health played a part in like everything we've already talked about, right? Your journey, you know, your wife and kids, and just your life. If you can kind of speak to that.
Sure. Yeah, we talk about, you know, like sort of the academic journey and all the little things you learn and the skills you add and the discoveries you make. But, you know, right along with that is you're learning about yourself too, right? You're how to live inside this head and, you know, what it means. And so like you, you know, in retrospect now, I see like mental health throughout my entire life. And I honestly can't really think of like, it's just part of my identity now. I have, you know, ways that my brain works, that my emotions work, that are unusual to some people, but you know, they're familiar to me, right? It's the only thing I've been a part of. And I never really like had the language to describe, you know, what I was feeling. And yet I look around, you know, extended family members, friends who, you know, now that I have some of that insight, you know, I see, and they, you know, they were in similar situations to me, and they are in similar situations to me. And I never had the language or the tools or the sort of reflection to be able to talk about that, and to be able to, or even sometimes if I did recognize it and have, you know, a beginning of a way to articulate it, you know, there's a stigma that you don't, you know, different people have different understandings of health, be that physical health, mental health, and there really is, it can be very hard to find a place to talk about those kind of things. I think for a lot of people, having a professional relationship with a, you know, a therapist or a counselor, some people, you know, find that in a more spiritual aspect with, you know, some confidant in their spirituality. I think that, you know, those people serve that purpose as well. Some people have close friends that I think can can do a lot of that, but that's been huge for me, is just building that support network. I've struggled with depression and anxiety for, like I've said now, as long as I can remember, now that I understand that that's what it is. And the road to medication was long, and fitful at times. There was sort of I started at least with kind of denial and resistance to, I don't want to change who I am. I don't want to, I don't want it to numb me out. I don't, this and that and the other. And eventually I came to the point where, I was willing to give it a shot, and like, holy cow. I mean, yes, talk therapy and social support and emotional support and mindfulness and all these things, they're tools in the toolbox, but so is biochemistry, and it can be it can a really great tool in the toolbox. And for me, a couple of times, like, finding something that works has just been the little push that keeps me on the right way, and sort of dovetails with all those other things that we can build in our toolbox. And man, the pandemic has been brutal for maintaining that support network, right? Especially I've moved halfway across the country, and I have these sort of expiration date on a lot of these friendships. As you can maintain some friendships over distance, but there's these sort of casual relationships that they're hard to transport. And so then all of those kind of get taken away when everything's virtual. And so honestly, I've kind of been a social media Luddite, kind of a skeptic, but man, it's been great connecting with people on Twitter, and like you said, just realizing other people are in this boat too. It's not just escape your own head. The perspective aspect is huge.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that, and I echo that. Something else that you and I have talked about is, this is from two, pretty young, I like to say, privileged white dudes. Yeah. It's like, if this is hard, not as a non-marginalized, individual, I'm not a person of color. I'm not an immigrant. I have, I've got lots of childhood trauma. I've got lots of issues, but that's, we're at a very privileged position, and we're struggling, and so definitely want to bring light to, how real this pandemic is, how unequitable it's been as well. Because it's been tough. It's been tough on you. It's been tough on me, and and it's nice though, to have this platform. Like, my preferred platform is Twitter. I love, I think one of can't remember who it was. I think Melinda Martinez and I were talking in one of our chats, I think, and we were both kind of like, yeah, Twitter's like, actually, I don't get why people are saying like it's bad or whatever. And then we're both kind of acknowledged like, oh, I think it's because like we just choose not to like allow any of the assholes to follow us, or we don't follow them. And we kind of realized like, oh, this is our safe space, like we created this, and that's nice, like we can have like a community, and that's part of like Fireside Chats and us having this chat, and and others, is just this connectivity that we can have because we choose it. And unfortunately, like you can't always choose your family, you can't always choose your everyday interactions, but you can make a choice to whatever your ability is anyways, to not engage or to engage on social media, and who you do that with. And I have found like in you and in many other people, great camaraderie and being able to, share my struggles and then kind of share in other people's, so that we don't feel so isolated and alone. Yeah. That's that. I just like, there you go. I just want to say
I agree.
Yeah. No, I mean, life's tough. Life's tough, you know, and especially like you pile on, you know, a job, two jobs. And, you know, for some people, just being alive is a job, right? I mean, like some people, their brains are constantly going and doing stuff that's atypical and whatever that is. And yeah, it's a lot of work just to kind of keep going. And so I definitely want to normalize and acknowledge that for anybody that's watching this, and for you, for me, you know, like we're doing it, you know, we're living, and that's a choice, you know, you got to make that choice every day to really live it. And yeah, I think that's what's so cool. Sorry, I'm wrapping up my part. Okay, what's so cool for me is like, you know, I don't even remember if you reached out or if I reached out to you first about this, but like, you know, we made a choice to have this chat, you know, and I think I had to bail last week, right? Because of my med issue, actually, is what it was. Oh no, I was sick. God, yeah, it turned out I had a sinus infection, so antibiotics cleared it up. But I forgot all about that part. But anyways, we made it work, you know, and that's not something I used to be able to do very well, but it is something I can do today because of this outreach and because of this shared community online. So anyways, this has turned into like a Twitter pitch. Yeah. So Twitter, if you're watching, please reimburse me because it costs money for internet and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad. Thanks for sharing what you shared before I shared like a whole lot too. I did, you know, I want to ask you too, like,
yeah, it's not a monologue.
No. It was half and half, right? No, about 75-25. But and you're moving and stuff. I know like moving can really take a toll because I've moved like on average every like 2.25 years in my 15-year marriage. And so like what has kind of that been like in terms of, you know, mental health and in terms of like your security and stuff, if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been lucky in that I've had, you know, jobs or relationships that have allowed me to have relatively consistent access to healthcare, mental health care, things. And yet when you move, you know, to a different state, you can't keep up the same therapeutic relationship with a counselor. And so, you know, that's for me been honestly one of the biggest things is, you know, you put a lot of work into, you know, those relationships, you know, shared understanding and trust and things like that. And then when you have to go do that again, you know, I've had some sort of false starts, you know, try and get in somewhere and either I can't get in or, you know, I don't have the relationship doesn't work or, you know, things like that. And then, you know, every time you have to restart, you know, it's an extra push that, especially when you're stupid depressed, like it's hard to make it happen, to put yourself out there and try to find somebody else, make an appointment, and do they have my insurance? Do I cover this? How much is this going to cost me? Like it's a lot. And every little piece that you add to that, you know, makes it harder and harder. And so one of those has really just been like, even if things are going great with one counselor, it's like, well, I'm moving, so that's done.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. When my
on top of all the other moving.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As if you need another reason that it's hard. Yeah, like moving itself is hard, but for sure, no, that's really good. I know just even talking about the prospect of moving to a counselor my wife and I see, we're just like, you know, this is going to be like, we're going to have to grieve this, you know, like it's tough when you have a really good relationship and you leave it with all that trust that's built in. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. Okay. That was awesome. I really appreciate that because that's like, it's a whole nother thing, you know, every little thing that you do in life is a whole nother thing, you know, and with mental health struggles, it's a whole nother thing, you know. it can definitely layer on, you know, the pain, anxiety, depression, all that stuff. So that's good. Okay, let's move into fun round. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna ask you some questions if you're ready.
Transition.
Yeah. All right. So I'm hoping my internet is still stable. Can you hear me in real time, you think?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay, maybe a little bit of a lag. Okay, but anyways, so David, what is your favorite tree?
Man, today, I think my favorite tree is Oregon oak.
Okay, that's cool. I don't know anything about Oregon oak.
Yeah, so some of it is proximity. You know, my geography has kind of shrunk because it usually involves like a stroller.
Yeah.
And in our neighborhood, there are a lot of beautiful Oregon oaks, and so I don't know. Their architecture is cool. They're branching. They have like nice furrowed bark. They're a great substrate for lichen, which I think is amazing. Yeah, they're kind of my local. They're like my neighborhood tree. So that's right now why they're my favorite.
Awesome. No, that's cool. Okay, what is your favorite fireside food and beverage?
Ooh. You know, I have, this is not an in isolation. This is because of what it represents. But growing up, I'd go on these little camping trips with some of my buddies in high school. And we would build a lean-to that probably was going to fall down on us in the middle of the night. And then in the morning, we'd eat like corned beef hash and eggs and like really badly burnt Pillsbury like peel apart biscuits. And so it is not good food. It is disgusting. But when you sweated and not slept and like, that's what you need.
Yeah.
Beverage, and then I think my favorite beverage, regardless of the setting, is probably coffee. And yet, fireside usually happens in the nighttime, so maybe decaf.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. All right. Nice. I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you got those intense labors or just nostalgia or whatever, you definitely cranks up the favoritism of whatever it is that you partook of. I don't know if that's weird. All right. So, what book are you reading right now, or recently read, or your favorite book, or any combination?
So I've come to own this now. I am a book starter. I am not a book finisher.
Oh yeah.
I get about 2/3 of the way through 75% of the books that I read, and then so I'm currently about halfway through the Overstory.
Nice.
I really like it. All the little like natural history details that are woven in there, and like they're kind of characters in the story. I really like. Yeah, so I can go with that one. I generally am not a huge fiction fan, but that one's, I think because there's kind of some natural history like woven in, I think I really like that one.
Yeah. Okay. So you're 50%. So you're really about 60 to 75%.
I'm almost done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been sitting at 50% for so I got it for my birthday. So yeah, I've been sitting at for several months now.
I can actually relate to that. So yeah. All right, that's cool. Who has been most influential in your life?
Yeah, honestly, I got to say my partner. We've been together for 11 and a half years, and I mean that's a large proportion of my life and really like all of my adult life. So we're pretty intertwined at this point, and kind of the same person.
Yeah. All right. Nice. That's cool. Your favorite science or life quote, if you have one?
Ooh. You know, not any one at this point.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. There's like a lot of great quotes, but I can never settle either. So
yeah, there are a lot of insightful quotes, but no one is my mantra at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, life should be more than about one thing anyways, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you could go back in time, what would you say to your teenage self?
We would definitely have a discussion about what mental health is and what can be done about it. I would have been a completely different person as a teenager if I understood half of what I understand now about mental health. There were dark times, and we got through them. But
yeah, it would have been nice to get through them a little easier.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. So word. Okay. So okay. This is a new question to Fireside Chats. This is specifically tailored for David Showalter. Okay. If you could be an insect, a tree, or a fungus, what would you choose? And if you know, going a little deeper, what species or genus? I almost said genre. Yeah, what genre would it be?
I think I'd have to be a fungus. I think there's a little bit of like novelty there, is why I'm kind of enamored with them as well, because they're kind of my newest.
Yeah.
But they just, oh man, they do everything. They live everywhere. They eat everything. They network with everything. They are so alien to like kind of what everybody kind of understands animals. Some people kind of understand plants, and then there are just these fungi that are just weird. I don't know. As for the species though, I might have to be something tasty, like a chanterelle. Yeah, I think it could be a chanterelle. Trees. I'm tasty. I'm kind of pretty. I'm kind of yellow. Chanterelle.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. That's great. All right, cool. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that answer to that question, and I really enjoyed our chat. I'm ready to do another one. We'll have to
sign me up for round 2 when you get through your 600 people that
I know. Oh man, I could do this every day for sure. And never get tired of it. Well, I mean, I'd get physically and mentally drained, but I enjoy the chat so much. So we'll definitely find a time, and if not, then you and I can just chat off camera. Well, on camera, but not recorded. So yeah, we could do that. Okay, so if David, people want to reach out to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that? And I'll link it in the description. So
sure, yeah. If you're on Twitter, ShowalterDN is my Twitter handle.
Okay.
And you can probably find me anywhere else if you have Google.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Broadcast,
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right.
Thank you for adding me to your very esteemed roster of Fireside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there have been some amazing people, and I can't wait. There's so many more good ones coming up that are already scheduled. I can't wait. It's gonna be so awesome. So, and I'm really glad, David, you're one of them. So you're number 10, 11, 12. So you're number 12. You made it into the top dozen.
I'm a good donut.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. I'm glad it suits your theme. All right. Well, David, it's been awesome, and I look forward to seeing you around on the Twitter sphere. But more importantly, we'll have some more chats. So yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
Take care.